Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel for another video. Today I'm sitting down to share with you guys my Q1 homeschooling update, and I want to thank Night Zookeeper for sponsoring today's video. So we have completed 9 weeks of our homeschool year, and I cannot believe it. The first quarter of my daughter's senior year of high school is done, and just like I've done pretty much every year for a long time, I come on and I share some Cliff Notes version of, an update on how things are going, things that have changed. I take notes. That's what I'm looking for, where I wrote all these down. Here they are. Here's my Q1 notes of things that I wanted to share with you guys, because of course I can't talk about every single thing in these updates. But if I see like a repetitive question being asked, and I take note of that, I will try to speak on that in these Q1 updates. So let's jump in. So we started our homeschool year at the end of August. I was waiting on my niece to be born because I was going to be going and staying at my brother's house while they went to the hospital. And so I chose our homeschool day based off of that. Well, for the first time, baby number 3 threw a wrench in the mix, and she was like a week late. So normally that wouldn't be a big deal in homeschooling, but my oldest 2 kids dual enrollment college classes started on that day that my niece was actually born. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's not that big of a deal either. Well, for my oldest daughter who did dual enrollment last year, it wasn't really that big of a deal because she was already familiar and kind of knew how to navigate things. My son, on the other hand, dual enrolled with Masters University in California, and he had no clue. So right away we were off to a rocky start with that, because he is the kind of kid who takes so much pride in his education and he wants to do everything well, and those are all great qualities, but he gets very overwhelmed when he feels like he's misinformed, which then turns into frustration, which then turns into coming out on me. And so it was a bit of a rough, disjointed start. So fast forward, we got through those first few days. I had them just go ahead and start on those dual enrolled classes. And then on Wednesday when I came home, my niece was born on Monday, I decided that was going to be our first day of school. Well, in my membership, I talk about every little detail about what happened, but that day was actually one of the worst days I've ever had in my life, not even just in homeschooling. So our homeschool year started off really rough, and I share that with you guys to say that even 10, 11 years into this homeschooling journey, I still have terrible days. We still have terrible days. My kids are still sinners. I know that's surprising. I am still a sinner. I know that that's also surprising. And sometimes things, they are just not going well. I can have the best made plans. I can have the curriculum ready to go. I can have everybody a shiny new outfit, and everybody's attitudes can still be in the toilet. Everybody can still get sick. There was a whole host of things that happened. So after our rough start, it did take about until week 3 to kind of like feel like, okay, whew, that was tough, but I think we're past the obstacles now. So I wanted to include that because I really strive to obviously be respectful of my children and all of that, and like not go into great detail, but I just want you guys to know, like, tough days still happen. And the irony of it all, which I shared in my membership, like way more in detail. If you want like chatty, more heartfelt content, you need to join my membership. It's where I do that because, I'm not going to pour out my heart for 55,000 people. But I do it over there because it's a much smaller, more intimate group. The irony of all that is that I had so much pressure on the first day of school because it was, and I'm going to try to say it without crying, it was the last day with all 4 kids in my homeschool. And so for it to go the way that it did was quite honestly pretty devastating to me. Okay, moving on from that. In quarter 1, actually before we even started our homeschool year, I had purchased all of my curriculum, like I showed you guys everything. And then when it came down to it, there was one thing that I was like, oh, I just don't know if this is right. I don't really know what I want to do here. And that was history with my youngest daughter. So my youngest daughter has always been along for the ride for whatever history curriculum I'm doing with all of my kids, like I used to with the good and the beautiful, and then the past few years not grass with her older brother for a whole variety of reasons. This year everyone was doing their own history, and that's just the way that it needed to be. But with her, I feel like since she's been tagging along in history for so long, she just really hasn't found like a passion and a love for the topic, honestly. And I think a lot of it has to do with always being the youngest, listening to like older, more mature things. So, she's heard a lot, she's done a lot, she's been a part of a lot, but at the end of the day, it just hasn't really stuck with her. And I've just seen, that she wasn't really loving it. So I decided I was going to do something different and use like missionary books and do that. And then I looked at those more closely, and I saw the things I got from Not Consumed. And I thought, this is more of like an elective course. This really isn't a history course. So I decided, no, I don't want to do that. So since it's just her, I decided to go back to the way that I taught my oldest kids history when they were younger, and that was through living books, through literature-based history. A few years ago, I tried Beautiful Feet books for that same reason, but Beautiful Feet books wasn't the right fit for us just because there was a lot of political undertone to the stories chosen and a lot of emphasis on certain things, and it was just like too much. It was beating a dead horse. And so I didn't want to go with that. So I thought, let me go back to Sunlight, my Sunlight days. Who was here watching my channel during my Sunlight days? But I didn't want to buy the whole Bible, history, language arts. I don't need all of that. And I really didn't want any worksheets. So I looked and I found that Sunlight has the books for certain periods of time in history, and you can just order the books. So that's what I did. I don't know if it was the most cost-effective way to do it, but I did get I want to say 13 or 14 books for around like $150 or something. So it seemed pretty reasonable to me, and I didn't have to hunt them down. And so I got those books, and then I wanted to do like history notebooking with her, and it has been so good. So good. And I think that she's really enjoying learning history this way. And it was something that I used to do like before I even did the good and the beautiful. This is the type of history that I taught my older two kids. And so it's just been the right thing for her, and I was really excited about that. So I wanted to share. I also wanted to share that in quarter 1, we started our In the Season of Thanksgiving unit from Campfire Curriculums. Now last year I did a portion of this, and they also have another one which is called Giving Thanks. And they're two entirely different units. You just have to I have them both in here, but I won't bother showing you. You just have to kind of decide on what you want to do. So I've also been doing this with her as a part of history, and these are so great for morning basket. I'll link to Campfire Curriculums down below. It's not too late to start if you're thinking November, I don't think I'll get through all the lessons. You don't have to get through them all. Just doing a few or a couple or going past Thanksgiving is also okay too. This unit is so well done because they used over 40 primary sources for historical reference, and it really gives you the truth behind Thanksgiving, and it's just awesome. So they have this one, which is more historical, and then they have the Giving Thanks unit, which is more like traditional, focused on gratitude and family. I'll link to both of those down below for you guys. But we've been loving doing that for history in our homeschool. So a brief pause with this update for today's video sponsor, which is Night Zookeeper. If you guys have been around for a while, you know how much we love Night Zookeeper. I have used them in my homeschool for years and years and years and years for all varying reasons. But now my youngest daughter is the only one who is still enjoying Night Zookeeper in our homeschool, and she enjoys it on Fridays when we have a lighter school day. If you guys have never ever heard of Night Zookeeper, then you have been missing out, because it is such a fantastic resource for encouraging and developing creative writing, grammar, reading, and even computer literacy skills. There is something on Night Zookeeper for everyone, and there are so many things and games and interactive ways to engage your child on Night Zookeeper that they will be asking you to play. This will not be something that you have to force them to do, and it is just a wonderful resource for reinforcement, and also for those kids that struggle a little bit with wanting to write or thinking about what they might like to write. Creative writing can be difficult for some kids, and Night Zookeeper can help your child with that so much, and they get to have fun while they do it. They earn coins to move throughout Night Zookeeper and unlock different features. There are so many ways to encourage your child in all of the above, and also reinforce things that you're working so hard to teach them with your language arts curriculum. So if you guys want to check out Night Zookeeper, I have a 50% off link for you guys to get your subscription half off, plus that 7-day free trial. So you can check it out and see if it's something your child enjoys doing. It is very independent. Most kids can work through it on their own, even those younger years. It is recommended for kids ages 5 through 12, but I do think there's a little wiggle room on both sides for that. And you guys can save 50% off when you use my link. There is no code. You don't need a code. It's just that link, and the information to Night Zookeeper is down below. We have continued to use Night Zookeeper on Fridays in our homeschool all throughout Q1, because my daughter's language arts curriculum is only 120 lessons. So we only need to do that 4 days a week. And it is just a nice, refreshing change for her and for me to do Night Zookeeper on Fridays, and she really, really looks forward to it. There have been so many laughs and funny characters created on Night Zookeeper. My kids still crack up, and they have so many memories in their homeschooling journeys, especially my older kids, on different stories they wrote and characters they had. And it's just a fun thing to see them reminisce on. I love hearing that as a homeschool mom. So you guys can check them out down below. Thank you so much, Night Zookeeper, for sponsoring today's Q1 update. All right, the next thing that I wanted to share with you guys in this Q1 update is that I have been teaching an apologetics class to my church homeschool group, middle school and high school. I was asked to do this over the summer, and I was a little reluctant, especially going into my daughter's senior year and having a lot of demanding things on my plate already. But I just felt the Lord was prompting me to do it. And even though my flesh wanted to reluctantly say no, it has been a blessing so far. I can't remember if I shared it on this side of my channel or only in my membership, but if I talked about it and I asked you to pray, thank you so much for praying. It's been very fruitful already, and I have just felt the Holy Spirit speaking through me to those kids, and there's just been a lot of really good things coming from it. And best of all, the kids have been really receptive and very engaged. And that means a lot to me. I knew it was going to be hard if the room was just quiet. In fact, I told my kids, I said, if no one volunteers an answer, I expect you guys to chime in, because it's kind of like no one wants to answer and get it wrong. But I asked my kids to be bold and be brave. And so it's been stretching for them in that way, but it's been very, very good. So that has been something we have enjoyed doing 2 Thursdays a month at our church. And because homeschooling is all about making memories, and I just wanted to throw this in the update, I was thinking to myself on those Thursdays, like, we're already getting out of the house. It's my daughter's senior year. We finished the class right at lunchtime. I did that on purpose. so that she could still get to work in the afternoon. I was like, what could I do to make this like memorable and special? And so I decided every Thursday we have class. Somebody gets to choose where we go to lunch. And so they've really enjoyed that too. And we get to sit down and have lunch together and talk about the class and all of that. And so those simple things make some of the best homeschool memories. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. Like, it doesn't have to be these grandiose things. It can be little things like that, that just really, I mean, you get to enjoy the freedom of homeschooling, like going out to lunch every other Thursday with your kids, and you get to talk and make memories. And so that's been fun. Of course, there's like some restriction on that. I'm not going to go like spend $200 on a lunch at a gourmet place, but they know their options in our general area. And so that's been really fun to do with my kids. We also had some difficult life stuff happen in Q1 besides just kind of the rough start. Man, 3 teenagers is intense. And as of December, I will have 4 teenagers. I will have all teenagers in my house, and it is intense. It is wonderful in many ways, but I would describe it as intense. That's like the best way that I can say it. And my boys specifically, I think it's a little more difficult, at least in my experience, for my boys to meet godly teenage boys. That have mouths that represent the Lord, that have conduct that represent the Lord, that have the same interests as them. It's really hard for them to meet like really solid boys. And I think it's a little more easy for girls, honestly. I know girls can be mean as well, but I'm just speaking from my experience. So we moved into our house here 5 years ago, and the cul-de-sac behind us was like a godsend because there was a military family, an Air Force family, whose daughter actually was the same age as my youngest daughter, and we found out they danced at the same dance studio by chance. And then we found out that she homeschooled her kids, and my boys made friends with her 2 boys, and they became best friends. And so in September, their family moved away, and it was probably one of the most painful things my boys have gone through. They've never had close friends leave, and the friends moved very far away. I'm talking West Coast to East Coast. So that was incredibly difficult. And as a mom, it was so hard for me because I just wanted to make them feel better, but there was really nothing I could do. And at the end of the day, even if you have other friendships and other relationships, like those special people, you can't replace them, and you also can't replicate what you had. So the crazy things they would do outside and how they played outside every day when the weather was nice, and just all the funny games and all of those memories, like those are memories for them now. And so that was a little bit difficult in Q1 because with homeschooling, you know, you're with your kids all of the time, and so anytime anybody is going through something emotional, it definitely affects their schoolwork. And so I was grateful to have homeschooling so that we could take the time to pray together, and we could take the time to talk about things, and I could be there to try to comfort them as best as I could. But it was really sad and really difficult. So that was something that we faced in Q1. We also, some other like little Cliff's Notes things that I have for you guys, on curriculum choices. I know that a lot of you guys want to know, Ashley, what do you think of that curriculum? I'm not ready to give a full review on any of the curriculum that I started using just because it's still too soon for me to say. I will tell you guys that everything that I used in the past, that I'm using again, I love. So it's only those few little things like science for my daughter in the 7th grade and a few other small little things that I'm just like, I don't know if I love this. So I got her Generations science curriculum. and I just don't know if I love it. Like, I love the information, I love the biblical worldview, but I just don't know that I love the science curriculum. Like, it's just a lot of information, it's a lot of big words, there's not a lot of activities. Like, I just am not sold on it yet, but I also am not going to change it yet. So I don't know. We're having some growing pains with that. And I'll give like a mid-year curriculum update once we're like halfway through the year and I'm like, okay, I can say this is just too dry and textbook style for us or something like that. On that note, something else that is different this school year, that if you're sensing a theme that a lot of things are kind of different this year, you're right. A lot is the same, but a lot is different. And that is actually a note that I had down here to share with you guys, that I have really had to lean into and learn that new phases in homeschooling are okay and you have to welcome them. You can't fight against them. Some things that are so near and dear to our hearts, we just want to hold on to them so tightly. Like, you love it the way it is, you don't want it to change, but sometimes it has to change and you have to just surrender that. And there's a lot of that this year, in different ways. One of those things was everyone doing their own history curriculum. I had to surrender that this year. One of those things was sticking to only 1 hour of morning time together, like hard. That I had to surrender. Another thing that I had to surrender so far is that my youngest daughter and I have been working downstairs at the kitchen table again. And I remember when I worked at the kitchen table homeschooling, when I very first started, all of my kids were there, all 4 of them all gathered around. And this year it's just her and I. My high schoolers work better upstairs, and with the rearranging we didn't end up buying another computer. It's a whole story. So her and I have just been downstairs, and I thought it was going to be a temporary thing, but now here we are 9 weeks in and we're still doing that, and it's working really well for her, but it just makes me feel like people are missing. And so I go up and down, and I'm still like engaging with my high schoolers, but it's just not the same, and seeing just her at the table reminds me of that. So there's just been lots of like letting go and accepting things, and just realizing I'm at a new phase and a new stage, and it can almost feel like I'm forgetting something or I'm doing something wrong, but it's just new and it's different. And I've got 3 in high school, and that is different. So that is something that I've had to accept. Another thing that I implemented this year that's new is grading Fridays. So I always did Fun Friday for the past few years, but I was still trying to do grading on different days. And then this year I said, no, I am entering grades for all of the high schoolers because they're really the only ones that I record grades for. With my daughter, I check it immediately and give her instant feedback and have her fix it right then. But with high schoolers, it's different. So I do grading on Friday, and I have been very diligent for 9 weeks on keeping up with it, because last year there were some times where I would get 4 weeks behind on grading stuff, and I was just thinking, I am never, ever going to get out of, like, I don't ever want to do this again. So grading Friday works very well because we have a shortened school day. Right after that, I just do all the grading with BJU Press. They give you their online platform where you review their assignments, and then I grade my kids' other things from master books and just make sure everyone is doing well and understanding things. And so I've been doing that on Fridays. A couple more things I wanted to share with you guys in this quarter 1 update is that we took our first fall break. We went to Flagstaff, Arizona in our RV, and it was beautiful. We had such a great time, and one really scary portion of the adventure, which I talked about, I think, more in the vlog I put up in my membership as well. But we had a really great time with our friends. It was so nice to see all the fall leaves changing, and we just loved it. So that was very restful and rejuvenating. And in the first quarter, both of my oldest kids, my junior and my senior, they finished their very first dual enrollment classes of this year. So the dual enrollment classes range from 7 to 8 weeks, and then they earn their 4 college credits for those classes. So my daughter was doing 2 and my son was starting with 1, and they both had final exams the week of our fall break in their classes, and they both did so well. They both got A's in their classes. I'm so proud of my kids. My daughter was in a upper level math class for her getting her nursing prerequisites done, and she was also taking Christian worldview from GCU, which was different, but she got through it. And then my son was taking world literature from Masters University, and he really enjoyed that class. It was something different for him for his English credit this year. So they both wrapped those up. So now my son will take a break until the spring. Junior year, one or two college classes is great for us. My daughter, on the other hand, we are trying to take advantage of dual enrollment for the cost effectiveness of it. And so she's going to be rolling right into her next two classes, which she's going to be taking probability and statistics, which the other math was like a prerequisite for. That's the last math class she's going to need for her BSN, her nursing degree. And then she's going to be taking sociology because they have to have like global awareness classes. So those should be interesting. Those are next on deck for her with her dual enrollment journey as a senior. But she is doing really, really well, and I'm just grateful for the financial benefit of it. So I think that's everything. We covered a lot in quarter one. Let me know if you guys have any questions about anything I said. Leave them down below. Make sure you check out the links to Night Zookeeper. That will be down below as well. Save yourself 50% off on your subscription and take a break on Fridays. Trust me, you guys will love it. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up before you click out of it so YouTube continues to show my videos to the people who want to see them. And I will see you guys again soon. Bye.